Detroit called. They want to re-sign you dressed in the game.
What?
Yeah, they're playing the Colts, their last preseason game of the season.
Tell stories that need to be told. At the end of the day, it's a storytelling business.
They'll get way more attention from that little industry pub than Good Morning America because that's where their customers are going.
Kelly Clarkson Show. Are there other like crown jewel achievements you have for your customers? From South Bend to Evansville and everywhere in between, this is Get In, the show focused on the Hoosier State and the incredible stories happening here today. I'm Nate Spengel, founder of Get Indiana, and I will be your host for today's conversation. Quick pause in the action to tell you about my friends from Hard Truth. This is my favorite bourbon in the state of Indiana. I was down at the distillery in Nashville. It is a place you have to check out. This holiday season, if you're looking for a getaway, go down there, get a spot at the cabin, hang out at the restaurant, the distillery, go on all the tours. It is an amazing time. As you're thinking about holiday gifting, go pick up a bottle of Hard Truth at the nearest liquor store and give that to the special someone in your life. It is a gift that you definitely won't forget. There's plenty of recipes and fun stuff that you can make with their bourbon as well. I love what they have. They have some amazing collabs with people like Mellencamp Whiskey Co. Hard Truth has been an amazing partner of mine. They were at the World Mixology Championship. They were the bourbon of choice there. Their journey over the past few years has been incredible to watch. I'm a huge fan of Hard Truth, and they've been a great supporter to us. Make sure you go check out Hard Truth. Today, I'm joined by Chris Dittoe, president and co-founder of Dittoe Public Relations, a nationally recognized PR and social media agency headquartered right here in Indianapolis. Before launching one of Indiana's most successful agencies, Chris played quarterback at IU, in the NFL, and NFL Europe. And we're going to get into all the fun football stories. Now, he's just as competitive in business, leading a firm that helps brands break through the noise with powerful storytelling. We're going to be talking through his journey from Fort Wayne down to Bloomington, up to Detroit, overseas, the football experience. Like, I'm just really interested in that, as well as his journey building Dittoe PR over the last 2 decades plus. Chris, welcome to Get In.
Thanks, Nate. Excited to be here. Excited.
Man, you had a really long journey to get here from 3 blocks up the street, right?
Exactly, yeah. We've been here in Broad Ripple for a long time. Love it. Love everything about being here in central Indiana, and especially right here in the middle of Indianapolis.
From social media and the marketing perspective, Broad Ripple is the hub of Indianapolis, right? Like, if you're trying to grow a successful agency or be in the marketing space, you got to move your company to Broad Ripple.
Exactly.
But you haven't always been in Broad Ripple. The journey starts in Fort Wayne, Indiana. What high school?
Bishop Dwenger.
Bishop Dwenger. Is that the Knights?
Saints.
Saints.
Yes.
Oh, what's Lures? Is Lures the Knights?
Yeah.
Shoot.
Yes, they're the
I have those two. That's like my whole shtick on TikTok is like knowing all the high school mascots in Indiana. So Dwenger is the Saints. Knights are Lures. All right, got it.
Big rival.
Which one had Jalen Smith?
Lures did.
Oh,
yeah, very good.
Okay, very good football player.
With Tyler Eifert.
Oh, yeah,
Was,
maybe you know
with
him.
The Bengals for a little while.
There's going to be, here's a preface, there are going to be some football conversations happening throughout this, but it's going to be fun because your journey goes from Fort Wayne and you end up playing quarterback at IU.
Yes.
And obviously all of us today know that IU had a spectacular season under Coach Signetti, but we also all know that it hasn't always been that way. Right. And this was the early 90s, mid 90s?
Right in the middle. Yeah, 92 to 96.
92, 96.
Yeah.
What was the state of the Indiana football team as you were coming through?
Pretty good. It was a very good kind of
like good as
era.
in like competing for Big Ten titles?
1 year. In 1993, we were competing for a Big Ten title. I was a redshirt freshman. In 87, right before I got there, they played Michigan State for a Big Ten championship and lost. In 93, we had a shot at Ohio State and lost, but it was still. So we were going to bowl games. I think it was a run where we went to 6 bowl games in about 8 years. And back then,
that's
there weren't
respectable.
75 bowl games. There were probably 45 to 50. So it was respectable for sure.
Well, and as you were coming out of high school, was it like dead set? You're like, I use the place for me.
I kind of had some numbers that you couldn't coach. I was 6'5" and had a pretty good arm. And back then there weren't, the dual threat quarterbacks at all. It wasn't a thing. I was super slow. In fact, I'm sure you know the sports writer Bill Benner, and kind of love telling this story because, and every time I see him now, I still remind him that he wrote an article. I was maybe a sophomore or junior at IU. And he wrote an article. I was really, really slow and got a lot of sacks. So he said I was slow as an ice flow ditto. Could not escape the pass rush of an ice glacier. Think about that.
And you still say, hey, remember that?
Yeah. Think about how slowly. Ice glaciers move. It's pretty slow. But
like millions of years or whatever it is, right? Tens of thousands.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
it's
speed wasn't the thing.
No, it wasn't.
But
But
that
I
wasn't
could sit in the pocket and throw the ball, and you really weren't recruited until your junior or senior year. Seriously, getting calls and offers, and the fall of my senior year I started to get offers and asked to come out on official visits, of which you could take 5.
Were they limited you to 5? You
could only take 5 official visits where that meant where they paid for you to come out. You could take as many unofficial visits as you wanted, but that would be on your dime to any school you want in the country if they invite you. But for the official visits, there's only 5 that you can take. That's where they kind of wine and dine you, and they fly you out. They take you to nice dinners.
This is obviously all pre-NIL era. And I just had Julie Ray Lash of the Horizon League. She was previously at the NCAA.
Yes.
And she just talked through all the changes now, because it's like, I don't know. I don't think that's a thing anymore. Like, freaking these kids are going everywhere,
man.
getting all the things. So like,
crazy.
oh yeah, not only are we going to buy your steak dinner, but we're also going to, give you a check for $5 million when you show up on campus for your stay. Like, nuts.
Got friends whose kids are now playing major Division I basketball and football, and that played in the 90s, and it's incredible.
So you get 5 official visits.
It was UCLA, Ohio State, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Indiana.
What?
Yeah.
What a
wild.
Wide.
It was wild.
How did UCLA get in the mix?
There was a guy there, a coach there named Homer Smith, that somehow got some tape of me playing.
Of this 6'5" guy with a freaking rocket attached to his arm, just chucking it.
Yeah, and so they had a quarterback there by the name of Tommy Maddox at the time, and we kind of the same kind of player. So they kind of wanted me to be in that mold, and I did. I went out there. My dad and I flew out to UCLA. I played basketball also in high school, so I had to leave on a Friday night after a basketball game. Got there. We saved some time going out because it was there obviously on Pacific time. Got there, and the coach was Terry Donahue. Immediately went to a steak dinner. Did the whole Beverly Hills. Had a really nice brunch at Beverly Hills on Sunday morning before we left. But toured the campus, and ultimately their pitch was, hey, don't think of it as you were 2,000 miles away. Think of it as we're just a 4-hour flight away. That was kind of their pitch. But it's still, at the end of the day, I loved it. The campus was amazing, but still too far, having been born and raised. I was born in Ohio, but raised in the state of Indiana. Went to Michigan, visited there, loved that too. It was an incredible experience, and then visited IU. It was like 3 out of 4 weekends in December and January, I took these visits. And then I became kind of worn out because there were coaches that would call every night. Multiple coaches. It just got tired of it.
You're like 17, 18 years old, and it's cool until it's not cool.
It was exciting, right? It was very exciting, but I was like, I'm ready to make a decision. And it came down to Indiana and Michigan. And Michigan at the time had Elvis Gerbach, Todd Collins, also 6'5", 6'6" pocket passers that I could have kind of just slid into that mold too. But having been raised in the state of Indiana and the success that Indiana was having under Bill Mallory at the time, I really wanted to go there and continue that. Trent Green was a senior when I was a freshman, so learned a lot from him. He went on and played in the NFL for, I think, 12 or 14 years and had an incredible career. And unfortunately, I didn't have that same success, but did get a chance. So
yeah, and so you end up. When did you start to get playing time at IU?
So my first start was my redshirt freshman year.
So you take a year redshirt,
yeah.
And then you're coming in. So it would be start of your second year, redshirt freshman year, and you're the guy.
No, I was the backup.
Oh, you're the backup?
I was the backup still. Yeah, I was the scout team quarterback my first year when I redshirted, and that was wild because back then quarterbacks were live, 100% in practice. We would get hit like it was a game, and that was just kind of Bill Mallory's culture. It was the way he ran his program. And now quarterbacks don't get touched; they hardly get touched in games. But back then it was full go
with the second team line.
Oh yeah,
and the first team defense.
All freshman line in the first team defense. Yes, and back then this defense our defense was loaded in '93. I think 7 or 8 guys played the NFL off the '93 defense. It was incredible. A couple guys played for the Colts. So then in '93, I came in as the backup. We're 7 or 8 games into the season. The starter gets hurt. I'll never forget on the Monday night we're playing against Ohio State. We were actually ranked 17th in the country at the time. So we were, I think, 7-2, having a really good season. Coaches come up to me. Our starter, his name was John Pacey, separated his shoulder and like, Chris, you will be starting this game. You better get ready. So then I spent if I wasn't at class, I was at the football stadium watching film or preparing or, and getting ready for the game. And the game was a 3:30 kickoff, and Keith Jackson and Bob Greasy had the game. So it was a nationally televised game, and it was great.
Wait, in Bloomington?
At Ohio State, in Columbus. So that adds another level of
first start in front of 100,000 plus?
Yes. So it was.
That all hate you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Talking about welcome to the show, kid. How'd the game go?
We did very well, and our philosophy was play good defense, do really well on special teams, and run the ball. The coach was very, very conservative, but we had some success throwing the ball. I think threw a touchdown pass, did not have any interceptions, but we ended up losing the game 23-17.
Okay, but you're in it, and it's not like
we had a chance.
And it's not you got like picked apart and like threw 5 picks.
No,
and
I know. We actually had a very conservative game plan, but we did throw the ball downfield, and our defense was the best in the Big Ten. Honestly, it was. It was us and Ohio State as the two best defenses in the Big Ten at the time, and we had the ball. We got the ball with 2.5 minutes left, and down 23-17. This still keeps me up at night sometimes, but. I had a guy open down the middle, and I threw the ball late, patted the ball one too many times, threw it half a second late, gave the safety time to come across and knock it down, but he was open, and it would have been a huge gain, a huge momentum, but
man,
yeah.
But sometimes
sticks with you.
Yeah, it's like in those ones probably more than the touchdowns you did score. It's like, oh yeah, you always like focus on the the little things that what I could have done different.
100%.
So then, as you kind of went through there, did you start the rest of the season? Or did the starter come back?
Starter came back, played about a quarter against Purdue, and got and his shoulder was just messed up. He tried, and then I came in, played 3/4 of that game.
And then the rest of college, you knew like you were kind of the guy.
Well, so then my sophomore year, that quarterback was coming back, John Pacey. So he was a junior, and we came into that season where our coach's plan was to split quarterbacks because I had done well.
That always works.
Yeah, exactly. It didn't work at all. John was technically the starter, and he's an East Coast guy. He's from Long Island, New York, very much a Long Island guy, but a great athlete. He was about 6'3", probably 220, ran like an absolute deer, very, very athletic. Not the most accurate passer, but very strong, very good runner, and a great leader. So he wasn't happy with the kind of the split quarterback situation. But we get to the Penn State game, and that was back when Penn State was ranked number 1 in the country. They had Kyle Brady. They were loaded. He was struggling in the middle of the second quarter. They put me in, and then I stayed in and then started the rest of the year and started then junior and senior year.
At what point during your college career did you realize like, oh, there's a chance for me at the next level?
Around that time, sophomore, junior year, we had some success, and you do get agents start to contact you. It's not totally illegal for them just to send you letters and just to introduce themselves. So I started to get some letters and contact from agents. They send it to the football office, and you get it, and they want to introduce themselves, and they would, they'd try and tell you, hey, this is where I think you can go, what I think you can do. And so that was kind of the start of it. And then, you play through your junior and senior year. And then after that, you got the pro day and all that stuff.
Were you thinking like football was my career, or were you like, okay, this is a means to an end. I'm going through college, and then I'm going to go do something else?
I did. I was hoping football
would be your career.
To be a longer term career.
Yeah.
It was always a goal.
Were you taking school seriously enough, or was it more like I'm here for football and school is just something that I do?
Probably the latter. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was, my major was sports management and marketing.
Yeah.
Not the toughest major at IU. And it allowed me to spend more time watching film and playing football. And right, wrong, or indifferent, that was my goal. I wanted to play professional football. And my major was a little bit secondary at the time, which I think if you'll talk to anybody that played college athletics, that was, pretty common.
Like D1, you're Big Ten football. Like, and when you start you're a sophomore, like you're 19, 20 years old, and an agent starts reaching out to you thinking like, oh, the NFL could be a potential for you. It's like, dude, how am I going to do my my calculus homework or whatever? Like, I'm thinking about how I'm going to get in the league.
It's tough to focus on that for sure.
So you go through junior and senior year, NFL prospects are starting to pan out. Like, how does that whole transition process go for you?
My senior year ended and eligibility was up. We've got, it's December timeframe, January, and then you just kind of work out. So I'm still in Bloomington, working out, getting ready for the draft, which was in April. Signed with an agent who was actually from Fort Wayne, but he was a very well-known agent his name was Eugene Parker, had huge big-time clients, like since passed, but he had Deion Sanders, he had
I've heard of this guy.
And he was just an incredible person that started his agency in Fort Wayne, Indiana, from Fort Wayne, and just started and got a loaded roster of football NFL guys. Since I was Fort Wayne, I was way down on his totem pole, but since I was Fort Wayne, I think he just kind of took me as a chance, and the draft came around.
Where are you at for the draft?
We were at my sister's house, actually not far from here, and she lived at 57th in Pennsylvania at the time. It was tough because I didn't get drafted.
But you're like expecting the call?
Kind of.
Like
I mean, they were
somewhere?
like you might get 5th, 6th, 7th round around there. And there were teams calling and saying, "Hey, we might call him my agent. We might draft him here or there, or we might sign him after the draft as a free agent." And
did you watch every minute of the draft?
Yeah, yes, for the most part.
And you get down to
and then I start, it's really ironic because I was engaged at the time to my college sweetheart, and we're there, my family's there, it's not happening. I go take a walk, and we're walking in this neighborhood where we're at like, I don't know if you're familiar with like Central, and we're at 50. My sister lived at 57th and Penn. We take a walk just down to like 57th and Central. That was 1997. And 5 years later, my wife and I buy a house at 56th and Central, right a block away from where we're walking around this park, which was School 84 at the time.
Yeah.
And we ended up living in this house for 23 years, where one of the worst days of my life was because I didn't get drafted. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm getting married in a month. I don't have a job. I'm going to have to start looking for something to do because maybe this football thing is going to work out.
Talk about adversity, especially because you were getting the agents and we believed this was realistic, Sure. And then you sit there and you watch, I believe they call it Mr. Irrelevant gets drafted, and you're like, well, if he's Mr. Irrelevant, I'm gonna have to go sell used cars or something. What am I gonna do?
Yes.
So when does so things end up? I will give the story away there. Things end up working out where you get on the roster with Detroit.
Yes.
How does that process work?
When the draft ended, I didn't get any calls, so I literally have to find a job. I find a newspaper. Back then there were no jobs posted online. The internet was just kind of becoming a thing in 1997. But I get a newspaper, and I'm circling jobs, I'm crossing out jobs, and I find a job. My first job was working at a telecommunications company, because I always wanted to do sales. I knew I was going to go and sell something. I was selling long distance B2B for 10 cents a minute. I get this job. I immediately go to Cleveland for 2 weeks of training.
Man, are you done? You're done with. You're like, I hate football. Yeah, I'm done. Whatever.
I think I'm done. Yeah, I got to move on. This was like, the draft was around April 25th. I'm getting married May 24th. Oh gosh. Yeah, I have to find something to do. So I take this job. I go and I do get a pretty cool mentor. I remember they were like, you can make money doing this. It's hard. And we literally going door to door to businesses saying, hey, can I speak to your decision maker, please? I think I've got a great plan that can help you guys save 10 cents a minute on your long distance calls. Sounds insane right now, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I tell our kids that was my first job. I'm like, what are you talking about? 10 cents a minute, and there were no cell phones then. It was a grind. And 3 weeks into that job, the Detroit Lions called. My agent called me. Actually, I'm sitting in my office on a Friday afternoon.
Eugene.
Yes.
Eugene gives you a ring.
Probably somebody that worked for him. I don't think it was Eugene himself, but the agency called and they said, hey, Chris, Lions called. They want to sign you. They want to get you on a plane tomorrow. Fly up, physical, and they want you to come to training camp, which starts in a month. And so I'm like, cool. I'm obviously over the moon excited, and immediately walk into my boss's office. I'm like, hey, dude, I quit. I'm out. I'm going. And they knew kind of my background and that maybe was a chance, but it wasn't really counting on it at that point. Went, did the physical, signed, and then was in training camp the Lions. It happened really fast.
Where's the wedding between the time you report for training camp?
Yeah, the wedding was May 24th in Bloomington. So my wife is from a small town, Whiteland, Indiana, just south of Greenwood. Not
Go
far.
Warriors.
Yes, sir. You got it. Go Warriors. It's since grown. I mean, back when we were in high school, she was in high school, it was probably 700 students. I think they're up to 2,000 now. So it's all grown down there, down south.
Yeah.
Me being from Fort Wayne and she being from Whiteland, we met in Bloomington, and it was just a place where, our life started, and we wanted to get married there. All our friends went to IU, and we had our wedding in Bloomington on actually the president's lawn right there on campus in the middle of it. It was incredible. Yeah, I was very lucky.
So you get married in May.
Yes.
When's report date for training camp?
I think around July 10th.
Okay, and then
So
when was the
had-
physical?
The physical was like June 10th.
So like you
roughly.
got married with no NFL prospects. You got married as a long distance phone
Yes.
salesman.
Yes. Oh yeah.
Dude, this is unreal.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay, so things go on. You get time in Detroit. You end up. I mean, because it's still pretty. You have to make the 53 man, right?
Yes.
From training camp.
Correct.
How was that? I mean,
So
is there like, and I don't want to, I know we've been going, but I could talk about this all day because I'm
Yeah.
just so fascinated.
Yeah.
And I do want to get into obviously like what you've been doing for the
Yeah.
last 2 decades, but it's like you
This
get,
is way more fun.
oh yeah, I mean, right. Come on.
Yeah.
So like how cutthroat is it to get on the roster?
It's tough. It was tough. So I was the 4th quarterback, and they had a guy named Scott Mitchell, who was probably a 10-year veteran. They also had Frank Reich, ironically, who was, obviously with the Colts for a while. And I think at this point, Frank was probably in his 13th, 14th, 15th year in the NFL.
So kind of like veteran on the way down.
Grizzled veteran backup for Scott. And then they drafted a guy named Charlie Batch, who was...
I've heard of him.
Yeah, he was Eastern Michigan, and then was their second-round pick. So it was going to be a tough road for me. Got cut, but then when they cut me, they said, hey, we want to re-sign you and send you to NFL Europe. So I was like, cool, I will... would love to do that. So I come home. I don't have a job again.
You quit your job, you join the training camp, and it's like, do you get like 20 grand, 50 grand, 100 grand? Are you a millionaire? Like, where is the area of like, okay, I have a wife now, I can
Right.
like, take care of a family.
Yeah. So the salaries, the big salaries don't start until the season starts. So during training camp, at least back in 1997, everyone, depending on how many years you were in the league, everyone got the same amount of money during training camp, which training camp lasted 4 or 5 weeks. So I think I was getting like $500 a week. 'Cause I was a
Okay, so like,
I was a first-year guy. Veterans were probably getting $2,000 a week. Not a lot of money, but then when you start, your salary is paid over 17 weeks. And the league minimum in 1997, if my memory serves me correctly, was like $131,000, which back then was great. Now I think the league minimum is $500,000 plus for a first-year guy. The higher salary, I never got it because I was cut before the season started. But if I were, then I would have gotten $131,000 divided by 17 over the 17 weeks of the season. But I only got the training camp money. So I come home. Still don't have any money. I need to get a job. So my sister was selling pharmaceuticals at the time. My wife, by the way, is doing PR this entire time. My wife is excelling in public relations, so that we can get to that. But she worked for a very large PR firm out of Chicago, and that's
so wait,
how.
so not only do you not have a job, you made $500 a week. Your wife's crushing
She's
it,
crushing
and you're
it.
coming
Yes,
home
she's-
as like your college sweetheart.
Yes.
You were the starting quarterback at IU,
Yes.
and now it's like, what the world?
Yes, yeah, oh yeah. It was it was very hard, and I think she remembers those days too. It was tough mentally, just because I'm like, I thought this might happen. I thought this was going to work, and I keep getting cut. I still wasn't finished yet though, because they said I knew I needed like a part-time, short-term job, because I've got now September through December, where I know in February I go back. No, in January I go back to this NFL Europe training camp, which is held in Atlanta. And so that was in 1998, the spring of 98. So for 4 or 5 months, I'm driving around the state of Indiana delivering drugs to people in their homes. I can't remember the name of the company that she worked for, but it was back when Jim Rome just started. I was driving around, listening to sports radio, listening to him and delivering drugs. And I was on the road, and I was doing these things, and I would go to the office and pick up the delivery for the day, and then I'd be out on the road. So that was September, December, and then January of that next year, I went to Atlanta for the NFL Europe training camp.
I mean, I don't even know what happened with NFL Europe.
Yeah, so that league was owned by the NFL, and they were trying to expand it, and they were trying to, have American football become more popular in Europe. So there were 6 teams over there. There was one in Frankfurt, Germany, which that was the team that I was on. Dusseldorf, Germany, Amsterdam, London, Barcelona, and Scotland. So it was a 10-game season. You had a home and away, which with every single team. So it was incredible because when we would go to these cities on a Friday afternoon, and every game was on Saturday night, and then we come home on Sunday. So we would have Friday night, which was pretty relaxed, just have dinner and go to bed because you'd play the game. But then we'd have the game on either Saturday afternoon or Saturday night, and then we would be able to go out in the cities that night. It was kind of like AAA baseball for the NFL because it was all guys that were young, that were cut off of NFL teams, and the rosters were small, maybe 47 guys on each team, but it was all American guys that were over there to play, and expenses were paid. You made some money, and it was incredible because you were over there for 4 months. And
with also no wife, with wife,
no wife, no, but she did come over. She came over for about 5 weeks during the season.
Okay, that's good because that would also be hard too. It's like your first 2 years of marriage,
right?
And you're like, oh yeah, by the way, I'm still chasing this NFL dream. Right. And I'm gonna be gone in Frankfurt, Germany for 4 months.
Yes. Yeah, and
by the way, I don't get my discount on long distance calls anymore.
Exactly. No, I had a freaking calling card. It was like, no, did not get the discount cards, but she was very supportive throughout the whole process, and she was meanwhile killing it at this PR firm that had offices all around the country. Go through that season. And then I go back to training camp with Detroit. Things are going really, really well. It was myself, Jim Miller, Charlie Batch, and Scott Mitchell. So we're in training camp. I'm actually playing pretty well. I feel like playing some preseason games, and I'll never forget. I had we're playing in Cincinnati, and it was a 2-minute drill. We're driving down the field. We're on probably their 15-yard line. We got an out. I throw it late, pick 6, goes the other way. And that was kind of my last pass for that game. The problem was there was a guy wide open down the middle in the end zone, and I just missed him. And I feel like if I would have made that throw, I think I would have made that team because the next day I was cut and Jim Miller, we were both cut. And they brought back Frank Reich out of retirement for him to, because Frank was like, I'm done. I don't want to play anymore. But all they had left was Scott Mitchell and Charlie Batch, and
we're getting rid of both of you guys, and we're bringing this guy out of retirement.
Jim Miller, he actually had about a 10-year career in the NFL, and he had a terrible training camp. Yes, they cut us both, brought Frank out of retirement, but the other interesting story. I was driving home from Detroit, no cell phones. I'm driving back to Indianapolis. I get home, and my wife Liza says, "Hey, Detroit called. They want to re-sign you. They're playing the Colts in their last preseason game of the season. It's a Thursday night. They want you to come and dress in the game."
What?
Yeah. So I'm like, okay, cool. So I go downtown. I meet him in the Westin. I sign the contract on Wednesday night. I play in the game on Thursday night. Thursday night, the game's over. We kind of shower in the locker room, play the Colts. It's kind of fun. There's a lot of family here. And I say to my quarterback coach, I'm like, so what's the deal? What am I coming back with the team? He goes, nah, you can stay here. We're going to cut you in the morning anyway, so you don't have to come home with us. I'm like, all right, well, I'm cut again. And yeah,
it's like that scene with Michael Scott from The Office, like snip, snap, snip, snap, snip, snap. Yeah. Like what?
Yeah, it's very cutthroat for sure. And it's just how
so
it was.
When was your last pass in the NFL?
So that season, which that was right at the end of training camp. That season, Charlie Batch got hurt. Was done like with 3 games left. So they actually called me and said, "Hey, Chris, I'm working at this point. I'm working at Crown Commercial Products Group, selling forklifts to large manufacturing warehouses," which I really liked that job. It was great. I was going in and out of warehouses, and selling forklifts for a huge company called Crown Corporation that was just right out of Ohio. They call and they're like, hey, we want you for the last 3 games to be the third quarterback, emergency quarterback. So I'm like, cool. I go in, I tell my boss, and they're like, yeah, like, great, good luck, go do it. Play in those last 3 regular season games for Detroit, and that was in '98. Or that was the fall of '98. They cut me after the season, so I'm not back.
You like in like a course of 3 years or 2 years, you've been cut like 5 times.
Yes, easily. And then that spring of '99, NFL Europe again. I actually go back and I play with the Berlin Thunder, a different team, and have a pretty good year. Come back from that. There's no teams that signed me. So at that point, it's time for actually another really silly thing that I did was I went and I tried arena football, which was not for me because that was a much more fast-paced game. But I went out to Portland, Oregon, and I played for the Portland Force Dragons for 2 weeks, signed with them. I was like, okay, I'm done. I'm not a fit for this particular style of football. I'm sure
it's faster and like it's running starts and like
and so
it's not the same game.
No, so I was like, I went into the coach's office. And I'm like, I appreciate the opportunity, but I'm finished. This isn't for me. I'm going back home. So that whole time, Liza is working at this large PR firm, basically supporting us. I do have some income coming in just sporadically.
2 weeks of arena football. I mean, you got that arena Portland. What was the name of the team?
The Forest Dragons.
You got that Forest Dragon money coming in, baby. Exactly. Come on.
The Portland Forest Dragons.
So you come back home. She's still crushing it. How long from graduation is this now?
So she was a year older than me. She was probably 3 years into her career.
And at that point, you start to get your feet underneath you, and you're like, you're no longer the low man on the totem pole. You're making some stuff happen.
Yes, and she was very good at what she did. So we took kind of her experience with this firm, which they did. They had an office in Chicago, New York, LA, and San Francisco, and her first job was in Chicago. And she told her boss, "Hey, I'm going to get married, and I'm going to go live in Indianapolis." And he said, "Okay, cool. You can go open an office in Indianapolis." So she did. She came. She opened an office here in Broad Ripple, hired 6 or 7 people, and she was basically running an agency. But
at like 23, 24?
She was probably 25, 26. Yeah, she was really good. She was just good at the earned media side of the business. And so I came in and we kind of learned her business model and started the business in the basement of our house, which was at 46 and Capitol at the time. So,
and she left the other company and you guys you came back from Arena.
Yeah. So
and it was like, let's do this thing.
99. Yeah. September of 1999 is when we kind of officially incorporated Dittoe PR.
And what was the first customer that you guys got?
First customer was a company called Voice Pilot, which we got at a trade show in Las Vegas. It was a voice recognition software. So it was, if you were talking into a microphone, it would dictate what you were saying into a computer. So it's supposed to save people time. It was kind of cutting edge technology back at, and they had these CDs that you would put into your old computer, and then you would download all this software, and then you would be able to, instead of typing, you could just talk into it.
That's kind of sick.
Yeah, it was cool.
I mean, in '99, it's like the first iteration of Siri.
Yeah, exactly.
There you go.
Except Voice Pilot.
Pilot. I wonder what they're up to these days.
Yeah, good question.
So, and I think when it comes to PR, it takes a decent amount of time to build up the relationships that come with this, right? So when you think through earned media, and for anyone out there that's not like a PR guru, could you give us just like the 10,000 foot flyover of what public relations looks like?
For us, and back when we get started, the public relations for us really was that earned media side. So we kind of get lumped into advertising a lot. People think, oh, you do PR, and think it's just advertising. Well, so if you're going to advertise, that's going to go out. You're going to create a commercial. You're going to put it, create an ad, put it in the newspaper, a magazine, or on TV, and so you're going to pay for that time slot within the television or in the newspaper, which is very, very expensive. Where we come in, we'll say, okay, let us get to know your story. We'll know your story as well as you do. We'll create all these different angles, all these different pitches about your company, about your entrepreneurial story, about your product. And let us take that to this newspaper, this magazine, this television station, and get earned media. It won't cost you anything. You pay us for our contacts and our ability to create a story that Good Morning America might be interested in, that Get In might, that you guys might be interested in. And we have a third party tell the story, which for us is instant credibility for that company. They're able to use that down the road for sales pitches, and then it'll just create attention and sales for them. That at the end of the day, that is the big reason why we get hired, is to create instant credibility for our clients, and that will hopefully generate sales and get their phones ring.
Yeah, and it's based around your firm's relationships within media credential contacts.
Yes.
Good Morning America, the Today Show, whatever. There.
Exactly.
And I'm actually curious. This is interesting. How much of what we see on TV, again, like let's just say the Today Show, right? Usually one of the biggest shows. How much of that is someone's PR firm booking them to get there versus their team scouring the internet and finding the stories?
I would say 90+% is a PR firm getting that story told on those national publications.
Isn't that crazy? Like we all think, like you watch
Right.
it and you're like, how did they find this crazy cool thing? And it's like, no,
They're
somebody
getting
just paid
contacted.
someone for an introduction there.
Exactly, for sure.
And that was like new to me. Like I didn't know that this was, I thought it was just like, oh, like Kelly Clarkson or whoever has a team of people that are finding all these cool stories. And
It's funny you mentioned Kelly Clarkson. We did have a client on Kelly Clarkson about a year and a half ago.
Wait, what was the client?
They were a band of adults that all had autism. And so it was just an incredible band where these kids, they're probably all in their 20s, and they created the band. I think there were 4 of them in the band, and all autistic, but made incredible music together. So we pitched the producers of Kelly Clarkson, and they're like, yeah, we love it. And
how do you get the contact information of the producers of Kelly Clarkson show?
So there's just a number of different ways, but it's a ton of research. It's just a ton of back end time spent on, we do subscribe to a service called Muckrack that a lot of PR firms will subscribe to it. And it basically is an online service that tells us exactly who covers what story in what industry. So we can put in just about any kind of publication, any television, any radio, any newspaper, and say, okay, New York Times, who would cover music and be interested in a feel-good story? And it'll kind of say, okay, here's what you want. And
Interesting.
We create lists and
Well, that's different today versus, you're thinking like 2000, 2001.
oh, we
like
had it was books. So there were books called Bacon's Media Books, and they would it was kind of like the encyclopedia for media relations and media contacts. And there were books probably that thick, and every year they would publish. Here's your 1999 Bacon's Media Book for TV. Here's your 1999 Bacon's Media Book for radio. And those aren't printed anymore because everything's online now.
Big news from my friends over at Hope Plumbing. Now Hope Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. You heard that right. They are now your one-stop shop for home services, offering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical. New name, added services, but same trustworthy, loyal company. They treat your home like their very own, and now that includes HVAC as well. Book your next home services appointment with Hope and mention Get Indiana, and Hope will give you a free membership for a year. A membership includes important services like whole home plumbing inspection, a free mainline drain snaking, 2 seasonal HVAC inspections, and so much more. That's a deal you can't miss out on. Call Hope Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling and start saving today. Now let's get back into the show. And yeah, you're calling up whoever it was from Bacon's Media Book in 2001. That's crazy.
Yeah.
When did you see, because nowadays when you think of like PR, it's like, we're getting our blogs backlinked somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
We're getting, appearances on like the traditional is like the television, the radio. But now it's like, podcasts
Mm-hmm.
or social media. Like there's just all these other things.
Right.
How quick has that evolution happened over the last 20 years?
I was incredibly fast, and I think it just seems to be changing every single day with new podcasts, with new ways to generate media or just generate attention for your company or your product, your service. And you mentioned social media. That's another important way for companies to get their name out there as well, especially if you get a hit. You amplify that. You kind of you hopefully that multiplies, and then you tag people, and then hopefully that turns into more and more eyeballs on your product or your service and that story that you're able to get or that we're able to get for you on your behalf. You know, the longer that we do this, in my eyes and in our team's opinion, the more valuable that earned media is for companies because it's so hard to get. The opportunities, the publications, they're shrinking. People, you know, within news, television, you know, anywhere that you're covering news, those departments are getting smaller and smaller. So if you can get their attention and if you can get a story for your client written somewhere, that's just more and more valuable because it's so much harder to get now.
And it is so crowded from a sense of like everyone thinks they belong on Guy Raz's podcast.
Right.
They're like, why hasn't Guy Raz called me? Like, why am I not on How I Built This? You know, and it's like he puts out 20 episodes a year, maybe.
Wow.
Like,
yeah.
I don't know. It's not a lot. It's definitely not 52. Like we put out 104 episodes, and I'm already like scheduled out to June. And I always have people pitching me someone, and I actually love it
because you took me.
Of course. I, as a Detroit Lions fan, I had to, right? Well, and it's like for me, I actually like not a lot of agencies like come and pitch me because I kind of look through it and I'm like, okay, well, I know what's going on in Indiana. I know the stories that I want to tell, so I kind of like am my own booker in that sense. And sometimes it'll be like I get pitched somebody and I'm like, well, I already know that guy. I'll just like DM them or whatever. Like, and I'm sure agencies actually don't like me for that because they're like, we want to like show the value that we booked it. And I'm like, and they're like, I could have DM'd that guy. I know that guy or I know that gal. And so it's interesting, but like how many people have, this is the best one. It's like people that aren't from Indiana and they're like, hey, we see Get In podcast. We'd love to have this restaurateur from Chicago. And I'm like, what does that have anything to do with Indiana? Like this guy from New York has started this new med device company. And I was like,
well, that is one of the challenges that we will have a client that say, hey, get me a story in the Dallas Morning News. We're like, well, do you have an office there? Do you have a product there? Do you have anything there that ties you to Dallas? Because they want to cover companies in Dallas. So you want to cover companies in Indiana, and that's it.
And it's like, you get that, and you're like, what are we going to do here? How are we going to tie this into Dallas?
Right, and that is a challenge a lot with clients is kind of setting realistic expectations.
And how do you balance the relationships, right? Like, I'm actually game. Like, there are sometimes I get really good introductions to like, oh my gosh, like, I absolutely want to have this person. I've been wanting to have them on. I just haven't made the time for it. And I'll be like, okay, yeah, sure. Like, we want them on. How do you balance like, but if that same person was every week just like nagging at me, like have this person, this, that, the other thing. Like, how do you balance that from the PR side of like not abusing your relationships with the media?
We definitely try not to do that because our relationships with the media is our bread and butter, and we try and be respectful of their time. We are very, very careful about the stories that we pitch because we don't want to waste their time because we don't want to burn that bridge for if in the future we know we've got a story that they want to tell. So we're not pushy. We know if our client is a fit for what media outlet most of the time. And because it's so important for us to be able to go back to that outlet with a different client in the future. So it's where we go back to stressing the research that we do is so important because if we've gotten ourselves in trouble before, we will pitch the wrong editor or writer. We'll say, hey, can you please cover our client that has this new piece of art that they're going to be displaying? And then they're like, I don't cover that. You're wasting my time. Then it's tough to go back to that person.
And be like, hey, sorry about the time that we did this. Yeah,
right.
Like, sorry, we thought that Get In was about Indonesia. Right. My bad.
Yeah, exactly.
And
I get it would be annoying for a person like you or anybody that's covering news and doing a great job. And
in a world where so many people can pitch themselves too.
Right.
It's like actually, I won't say stressful, but it's like definitely a challenge that I didn't think about where it was like, I was like, early on, I'm like reaching out to like taking my shots at guests. And then it's like, you get like the Doug Bowles of the world.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, well, like, I got Doug. Like, I could probably go get him.
Right.
And then then the tables flip.
Right.
And it's like, I mean, obviously, like, there's still like, the Caitlin Clark and the Colts players and Pat McAfee of like that, like, superstar in Indiana.
Right.
But, like this next tier, it's like, okay, those people want to come on the show.
Sure.
But then that opened the floodgates of like, I own, and this is but I own like a startup clothing boutique in rural southern Indiana. Can I come on your podcast?
Right.
I own. There's one, and actually, I don't want to put anyone on blast, but it's like, oh man, there's just like so many. I could put out 365 episodes this year, and we could probably have good conversations. And I'm not saying you have to be like entrepreneur this or that, or the other thing. Like, there's probably a really good story, but it's like then all of my time would just be like talking. Like I wouldn't have any other time to do like the social media piece or this, that. And it's like my DMs or my emails are just like, hey, I think this is a good story. I think this is a good story. You should cover this. And it's like, if I had unlimited time, I would cover every story.
Sure.
It would be awesome.
Sure.
So I do think, being that balancing act of PR and making sure that you find the relevant topics for the media as well as for your customer. And like that balancing act would be pretty hard.
It is. And it's critical because we have to be respectful of that writer, the editor, or the podcaster. We have to think about, hey, what's your audience consuming? What would they be interested in? Is this story realistic for us to pitch for this particular outlet to cover? And we've been doing it. It'll be 27 years this fall, which is really, really hard to believe. But we've got a great team that, we've got a great just system in place where we all work within teams with each of our clients.
Yeah,
and everybody has a particular job that they're doing.
You talked about getting one of your clients on Kelly Clarkson's show. Are there other like crown jewel achievements, pinnacle moments that you've had for your customers?
We've been able to get our clients the best of the best. Oprah, back when Oprah was really hopping.
You got someone,
Ellen, but I know she's taking a dive, but
like 5-10 years ago
was everybody wanted to be on that. Good Morning America, Today Show. We've been lucky to be on all of those shows or have clients on all of those shows. And then, here locally, the Star, IBJ, Inside, Gary Dick is a legend. And, we've been fortunate to have our clients on with him a number of times over the years.
And for some businesses, let's say like a local Indiana restaurant, gym, whatever it might be, like Good Morning America is actually not the best fit.
Right.
I think that sometimes everyone's like, oh, we need to get on. But it's like, would you rather see if you own a gym, are millions of people all over the country better, or are 50,000 Hoosiers better that are in your neighborhood that could actually be a patron at your restaurant or be a patron at your gym?
That's a very, very good point. We'll have clients that our first meeting and they'll say, I want to be on Good Morning America. Or I want to be on whatever their pie in the sky is of a media outlet that comes to their mind. While maybe we think that's a good fit, and maybe we can get them in that outlet. We have had many examples where we'll get a client in a smaller, just vertical trade publication that is their industry specific, and then also get them on Good Morning America, and they will get way more traction. They'll get way more attention from that little industry pub than Good Morning America, because that's where their customers are going. That's where their customers are going for that product or service. But people think, oh, I've got to get on this national media publication, and where that's where I think the value too of a PR firm comes in, is being able to strategically think about, let's be realistic. Where are your customers going to find you? What are they reading?
Yeah, and it's even like entrepreneurs or whatever the business might be wants to get into Forbes, and it's like, oh, we're gonna get so much business out of Forbes, when realistically the right fit could be the IBJ.
Exactly.
And it's like, that's like going to make a bigger impact. Like whoever at the local coffee shop reading the physical copy of the IBJ is actually going to be a decision maker at a local company that's going to buy the thing from them, versus like all the people that are looking in Forbes because they're like, I can't wait till I get in here. Like I want, and they're not actually your buyer. Exactly. They're just like envious.
This is cool. Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And it's like, okay, you want to be, I can get the whole thing on this.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's our job, and for us to really educate them on, hey, this is, in our experience, this is where your customers, or maybe you're trying to raise money, people that are the VCs, this is where they're reading, or maybe you're trying to retain or attract top talent to work for you, then this is where the outlets that we should be pitching on your behalf.
Yeah, and I think the idea of PR, marketing, advertising, the whole thing, it's like at surface level, everyone looks at it and says, okay, that's just to get more customers. But there is so many other lifters of like when I mean, one of the easiest forms of PR, it's like when your founder or CEO posts on LinkedIn consistently and builds up a personal brand, people are invested in maybe going to work for you or buying from you or just it's like kind of your own founder-led PR.
Right.
Is by if you have an influencer type, content creator founder, it's cheat code.
It is.
Like more people discover you. Michael Burton, he's with Stitch. He did like Founder Fridays, I think, when he was at Lev, and they hired a ton of fellows, and I was coming through there, and I was like, it's so cool that your founder is like always posting about what's going on, and you get to learn so much. And he hires some of the best talent in Indianapolis, because he's well known. Max Yoder, similar way, like they've built up these personal brands that not only help with sales, but talent attraction, talent retention, this whole piece. It's almost like a extra side that leads to marketing, recruiting.
Well, and I think that's your point is spot on. That is why we started the social media side of our business, because it's critical. Even if you're B2B and you don't think, I don't really have a presence on Instagram or Facebook or LinkedIn. Well, a lot of people, the younger in their 20s and 30s, they're going to consume their information and they're going to do research on you and your company on LinkedIn, on Instagram, on Facebook. So it's important to have, relevant, up-to-date content. And that's another thing that we do help our clients with is a social media strategy. And, always kind of compare it to back in around 1999, 2000, when the internet was coming out and everybody was getting a website. And then they would be like, hey, what's your website? And people would be like, I don't have a website. And then everybody's like, I got to have a website online. This is where people go for information. Now it's like, not only do you need a website, but you also need a live and up-to-date content on LinkedIn, on Instagram, on Facebook, just to show your personality, show who you are, show your knowledge. And it does lead to sales, retaining talent, and attracting talent.
And I think it does a good job of giving you another place for your voice, like another voice that's out to the group. Sure. If you had a few tips or strategies, let's say there are listeners out there that are considering whether it's working with an agency or just trying to get some more of that earned media, maybe they want to explore it on their own first. What are some tips or strategies you have for getting earned media?
Knowing the story really, really well, having multiple angles of that story that you can tell, because a lot of times the first pitch that you take to the media may not work. So you've got to kind of come back and do another creative pitch. But the most important thing is making sure you're pitching and contacting the right person at that publication, as we've kind of talked about. That's number one, and that's really the hardest part, is doing the research and then being able to contact that person in a professional manner. That's one of our biggest, everyone on our team, their strength is communication, writing, speaking, all of those things, because we essentially become almost a salesperson for each of our clients, because we've got to know their story as well as they do. So we've got to tell it. We've got to speak very, very eloquently about what they do, and then making sure that we're pitching the right person. Because if you don't, you could get blackballed from that particular publication if you do it enough. First time you apologize, say, hey, I'm sorry for wasting your time or whatever it might be. But it's really critical to contact the right person about that story, because you don't want to waste their time, and you also want to be realistic about your story.
Well, and it shows like you don't really read you don't know who they are.
Yeah.
Like if someone, it's like, oh yeah, like when they like talk about, oh, they pitched me someone from New York on Get In, and I instantly deleted it or whatever, and I'm like, I will never work with you. Because you don't actually listen to my show. You don't actually know anything about. Like literally in the thing, it's like everything about me screams Indiana, ties to Indiana. You have to be from it. Like what on earth? Why on earth would someone from LA that wasn't maybe born or? Because then there are some times where they're like, hey, this guy or girl was raised in Indiana, now is on doing this thing, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's cool. That's it. I'm in on that. Relevant. And it's like you've done your research. You know a thing or two.
Right.
I think that's really good advice.
Well, and your point is exactly what we tell our team is go and read the articles that they've written in the past. Go and watch the stories that they've done in the past, and then reference it in your pitch. Say, I read the story that you wrote about X, Y, and Z. Love that information. Thanks for writing it. I thought you'd be interested in this story as well. Flatter them a little bit.
Yeah, and even bigger if you can you be like, I totally agree that Broad Ripple Bagel Deli is the best bagel spot. And it's talking about good bagels, Side Door Bagel downtown's really good. Maybe you should check that out.
Right.
And it's you tie it all together and make it easy for them.
Exactly.
I mean, I get people too that want to work like that. It's they'll be commenting on a lot of my stuff and which just keeps them in my sphere.
Right.
And it's oh, they're helping me out and they're doing this piece and they're being a really active, engaging member of my community.
Right.
I'm at least willing to hear what they have to say. Right. I don't think that's interesting.
Exactly.
Well, we've come down to the end of the show where we have some fun segment type questions to ask you. The first one, you guys are going to love this. The first one is brought to you by our friends at Orr Fellowship. They're a great organization here in Indiana, helping develop young business leaders across the state. You guys obviously know that they just opened a second chapter down in Evansville. It's kicking off this June. They're doing great work. Yes. I love all the team at Orr Fellowship. I was an Orr Fellow. They took good care of me. It was a great program, and I'm excited to be working with them. What advice would you give to your 22-year-old self?
That's interesting because I have a 22-year-old. So, and I've got a 24-year-old and a 20-year-old. So
when they clearly you give them all your advice and they roll their eyes.
Exactly.
This way people are wanting to hear it, right? So yeah,
a 22-year-old that I do talk to almost on a daily basis. Yes, she does kind of roll her eyes, but I think it's important for whatever career that you choose to get in, and especially since COVID, and there's all of this kind of remote first work, that wherever it is, whatever company you're in, and if you are just starting your career, just be visible to the people that you work with. Just go into the office. Being in the office, starting out in a career that you may not, that you're just grinding on, you're going to learn and you're going to advance in your career so much more than just working from your couch every single day. You're going to see other people that might be in their 30s or 40s and how they operate, what they do with their downtime, what they do when they're really, really focused and doing focused hours of work. If you're not in the office, you won't be able to see that. So just be as visible as you can in whatever career that is that you choose.
22-year-olds are going to roll their eyes. They're going to hate that one.
It's tough.
But it's so I can't say it enough. It's easy to stay home. Whatever you're saying is I'm more productive here. I'm more this. I'm more that. The truth at the bottom of it is that it's easy.
Right.
It's easy to roll out of bed, open your laptop at 8:59, get on Slack at 9 o'clock. That's
right.
For the most part. I would say 4 days a week, 3 days a week. Plus, you're going in, you can have your Friday or your Monday or whatever, and that might make sense. There are certain times where working from home makes sense. But if you're doing it every single day and you're under the guise of I'm more productive or this, that, I don't think it's the move to advance your career in the best way possible.
Right.
You talk about rubbing shoulders, getting good mentors,
right.
Seeing this, going this challenge of being at your desk at 8 and staying till 5. And, I just think there's such a benefit. I sound like such a boomer for saying it, but I firmly believe going in.
It's true. And I do. I mean, pre-COVID, when I think about the amount of hours that everybody spent at their office, it was, at the end of the day, with all the technology that we all have at our disposal, that was probably too much and not necessary. There's still so much value in being around your team, being around the people that you work with every single day.
Turns it from, I just push buttons on a keyboard from 8 to 5 or whatever, or 9 to 4:30, or to I'm on this team.
Right.
You're being collaborative. It makes it more fun,
Right.
That leads me into my next question. What do you miss the most about football?
The locker room, just being in there, whether it's after a big game, after a big win, after a big loss, after a hard practice, after super challenging times for your teammates, and being in that space you can't replace it. And maybe that's why I try to go on so many golf trips with guys, drives my wife crazy, but it is, going back and being in those situations, there's so many great memories, because that's where you bond as a team, and being together and, learning about everyone's background, and the travel too, when you would travel to and stay in a hotel and learn about your teammates outside of the locker room, outside of the field, and in the huddle, I guess in a smaller sense, being in that huddle and just kind of looking 10 other guys in the eye and telling them, hey, this is what we got to do to get the job done. Piece of adrenaline that cannot be replaced either. It's just a rush that gives me chills to this day.
I love it. locker room guy. Come on.
Maybe cliche, but it's true. And I think anybody that played long enough would say that's top too.
Yeah, and it's like before a game, you know,
Yeah.
like there's some music going on.
Right.
And everyone's like, no one's talking.
Right.
But it's funny when you're like the redshirt freshman or whatever, and you're like, oh, you're like in it, but I don't know. I remember being a freshman at DePaul, and I like wanted to crack a joke, but I was like worried if I talked to someone, like the middle linebacker was gonna like rip my head off my shoulders.
Right.
Like, so you just shut up and don't say anything.
You gotta kind of know your place.
Yeah.
at that time.
Exactly. Well, these are the same 3 questions that I ask everyone who sits in the chair all around the state of Indiana. So the first question: what's something the world needs to know about Indiana?
It's so easy to get around the city, Chicago, whatever big city it might be, and you just kind of get bogged down by traffic and people and crowds. And I just feel like no matter what is going on in the state of Indiana, especially here in central Indiana, even this weekend when we have Kentucky, Purdue, Tennessee, and Houston come to
For
town
those,
for
yeah,
the
I was gonna say for those that,
Yeah.
this is recorded right around the time of March Madness. Purdue is making, even though you're an IU guy,
Yeah.
our current Hoosier basketball team is the Purdue Boilermakers.
Well, unfortunately, but yes, hard not to respect Matt Painter and everything that they've done. But even when people go downtown this weekend, it's not going to feel too crowded. Everyone's going to feel welcome. There's going to be room to roam around and go to different bars and restaurants, and there's always something to do. Also, I think that people don't understand how much, especially here in Indianapolis, there is to do. And I think a lot of times people that have never been here think, oh my gosh, you're in the middle of the country. It sounds boring. It's a flyover state. No, I take a ton of pride in being here and raising a family here, and feel very lucky to be able to remain here.
But it's not as easy. You live in Denver, you look up in the sky, you see mountains. You live in Florida, you see the beach. Oh, I'm supposed to be doing something with that.
Right.
It's not as easy, but it doesn't mean that there's not stuff here. And that's kind of like the whole ethos of what we built here.
Right.
It's like I'll go uncover. Again, I'm going on this road trip this weekend. I'll go uncover the craziest 4-county road trip that no one's ever thought of.
Right.
And I'll share it with you so that maybe you'll go visit one of the spots next time you're driving through.
Love it.
And it kind of being there, being the Hoosier Sherpa to all the things that are going on here. And it shows it's not there's nothing to do here. You just need to be spoon fed, go do this. It will be fun. You'll have a good time.
Right.
Next question: what is a hidden gem in Indiana?
Go to the Vogue and check it out. See a show there. They have a wide variety of music. It's just a cool old venue that I think is incredible. The
Marquee is iconic here in Broad Ripple.
Exactly, it is, and the Marquee is so old and traditional, and I think it's just a cool spot. But
they've done a really good job trying to modernize it. I feel like the 45 has been that whole relationship there, and they've done a really good job of revitalizing it almost.
Right, they have, and they get a wide variety of music, and they did the holiday park.
Yeah, Rock the Ruins.
Rock the Ruins.
And now they're doing Broad Ripple Park.
Yep.
They're helping put that on.
Right.
Music City, music region, music neighborhood. That might be us here in Broad Ripple.
I agree, and I'm being sports in my background, I think obviously what Cambridge did, the redo there, you still going to Lucas Oil, to me it still feels brand new. Both of those venues still feel like they were built yesterday, and I think what Cambridge opened in 1999 or 2000, so thing feels brand new to me. So our sports venues are as good as they get anywhere in the country.
Yeah, between the Vogue, just venue, it's the host city. You got to have good. You got to have good amenities.
Hotels,
there.
We keep getting incredible hotels.
Yeah, that new one is going to be massive.
The Intercontinental is
that one just opened, right? But then the other one that's right diagonal from Harry and Izzy's, that one is going to be.
And the Omni just totally gutted the Omni. It's brand new on the inside. It's absolutely incredible down there.
Final question. This is how we source new guests and find new people that I need to go talk to. So who's a Hoosier we need to keep on our radar? Someone who's doing big things.
Scott Craigie. Don't know if you know Scott, but
I know of Scott. I've actually never met Scott, I don't think.
Yeah, he is just an eclectic guy. He's an entrepreneur. He's sold businesses. He's invested in businesses.
Is he Ivy Ventures?
Yes.
Is that like his? Yeah.
Exactly.
And is he also with does he do stuff with the Vogue?
45,
yeah.
With those guys, and he's always born and raised here, done incredible things for Central Indiana, hires a lot of people, develops a lot of different things, whether it's technology or just hands-on work. Big fly fisherman too. Loves going out to Montana and fly fish, and just an overall good, mentor type of a person who is great in business, great family guy. Yeah, he's.
I'm gonna need to get Scott on the podcast.
Yeah, he'd be great.
Love
he'd
it.
Be great.
Chris, thank you so much for giving us the time and coming on today and telling your journey from Fort Wayne down to Bloomington, the NFL, overseas, NFL Europe, to building what you guys have built with Dittoe PR and the way that you're helping not only Hoosier companies, but companies all over find the right earned media, find the right social media strategy, like all the different ways you're helping your customers tell stories that need to be told, right? Like that. At the end of the day, it's a storytelling business. From whether it's Get In or Inside Indiana Business or Wish TV or Good Morning America, Kelly Clarkson's show, the whole thing. It's all a storytelling business, and you're doing a great job of helping amplify Hoosier stories that need to be told. So I appreciate that.
Thank you, Nate. Really appreciate. Congrats on all of your growth and success, and can't wait to see you all over the state of Indiana telling stories. So thanks for having me.
I appreciate it, man. It's been a fun ride, and I'm excited to keep telling more Hoosier stories.
Love it. Thank you very much.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Get In. If you like what you heard, make sure you leave us a review wherever you listen to podcasts. This show is made possible by our friends up at Sweetwater. Whether you're looking to start a podcast or take your content to the next level, click the link in the description to see all my gear recommendations at sweetwater.com. If you want a behind-the-scenes look at everything we're doing across the state, make sure you follow me on Instagram and TikTok at Nate Spangle. Thank you so much for listening and being part of what makes the Hoosier State great. We'll see you next time here on Get In.